Okay, so stream is starting up. I realize there's really not going to be anyone here right now, but for the recording, which I'm going to post, I am doing a stream test, and I'm going into some space engineers. I really enjoy the game Space Engineers. I think it's an awesome game, and I think it's got a lot of potential. A lot of you people have already, maybe seen it or experienced it, type of thing. And let's see. Make sure the stream is running here. And so basically, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be playing on the Shadecrest server, which is basically it started out as a Minecraft community. Some of you may have heard me mention it in some of my recordings. Also, we've got a couple of people from the community who have played with us on... might help if I spelled it right. Like with some Gary's mod and stuff. Just having a good time. So I'm going to go ahead and be monitoring the stream on another computer here. So right now we've got one person in the public server, and you'll notice here on the search, I just did a search for Shadecrest. We have three. We have a creative and a survival that are whitelist, and then we've got the public server. And right now it looks like we've got one person on. So I'm going to go ahead and join the world. And for those of you who are not familiar with Space Engineers, some people say it's kind of like Minecraft in space, but there's a lot more to it than that, really. For those of you who have difficulty with, watching or playing 3D games and movies, Space Engineers may be kind of difficult for you because you're moving in a totally three-dimensional environment because you're in space. Unless you have artificial gravity installed, there's no gravity, so you're actually rotating on your z-axis as well as moving in x and y, and so it can definitely be disorienting, even for those of us who are either used to it or kind of geared towards thinking and moving in that type of way. So each time you join a server, you're going to download a new copy of the map. Some maps, this one here was 7 megs. I've seen them go all the way up to 20. It all depends on how large of an area the server has for you to play in. Our server here is a 50-kilometer square, basically. Now here, if you've never logged in to Space Engineers on a server, you can log in lots of different ways. There's some respawn ships, or just straight into a spacesuit. But if you have a medical room available, that's where you want to log in. And that's because if you don't use a medical room to spawn in, you're considered a brand new player, even though you obviously have the same name. So here you can see in the background a little bit of video. It's kind of fuzzy. If I click this medical room, it'll kind of give me a fuzzy background image of where it's at. And then here for IMAXors, that's a member of my faction. He's also a member of Shadecrest, so we kind of teamed up to try and help each other a little bit. So I'm going to go into my second medical room because for some reason the first one I usually tend to die. It's like I spawn inside of a wall or something. So inside we go, and currently there are some somewhat serious bugs, one of which is normal lighting is not working properly. So I have my own headlight basically here, so if I go into a third-person view and I'm in a place where you can see me, I can turn on my own lights and you can see that yes, those lights are working. But there are lights on structures and specifically ships that you can build, and they're currently broken. So we just had a quick patch update because the assemblers were broken, and assemblers are basically how you make things. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the G key here and go into my hotbar menu, and toolbar as they call it, and you can see I've got 4 of them, so I can really queue up a lot of things. But what I like to do here in my first slots is I like my hand drill, and then my welder for building, and my grinder for tearing things apart. And from there I'll usually throw in something like a light armor block. In order for this to automatically move down onto your toolbar, you just hit the right mouse button. Oh, excuse me, having a sneeze. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so here we're looking at all the different blocks that you can actually place in the world. If you're familiar with 7 Days to Die, which you know, obviously I've recorded and posted some of that. If you're familiar with the upgrading system, where you put down a block frame and then you upgrade it, you're kind of doing that here. In that, if you look on the right side here, every time I hover over a block, it'll say what it needs to be built. And you'll see some of them have small ship and large ship options, and some of them do not. That's because some things can only be built for a large ship or a station, and some things can only be built on a small ship, and for some items there's a large and small version for each. So I usually like to just have a nice little light armor block there so I can place something if I need to, but I also need to make sure that I have the steel plates in my inventory. I need at least 1 in order to place the original frame, and then I have to use my welder to fully upgrade the block, so to speak. Let's see, so let's go and do that. And so if you look here, there's weapons and tools. These here are for stations and ships. There are character tools that I already showed you. You've also got character animations, so you can wave, you can give a thumbs up, you can do a face palm. Everybody seems to like the face palm. Let's see, then we've got armor blocks here, cockpits. So we've got some flight seats, a fighter cockpit, and some other stuff going on. Conveyor and cargo blocks in order to transport things. If you're familiar with modded Minecraft, you use either buildcraft pipes or thermal expansion, item ducts, things like that. Here we have a conveyor system. As long as... Here, let me go ahead and walk over here so you can see. So you'll see this door looking area here. This is a conveyor door. And then right here we've got a conveyor tube. This is actually a small cargo container attached to a conveyor tube. And as long as you've got these doors touching, they're considered part of the conveyor system. So if I had 2 different cargo containers attached to each other through these doors, and cargo containers have a door on all 6 sides, then I can transfer items between them. If I have this block here and another one over here, like this small cargo container, which I can't access the door because it's covered up, I can transfer items from this cargo container all the way over to this cargo container. And the same thing works on ships. You'll see here I have a conveyor, and here's a connector which allows you to attach ships and stations together to transfer items between them. So I just turned on my jetpack. So here we've got grinders, so you can build ships to grind and weld, and drill, so that you don't have to do it all manually. So you'll notice in the lower right hand corner, gravity is right now at a 0.2 G. I like to run around in low gravity because that way, if I'm falling, I've got plenty of time to turn on my jetpack before I splat on the ground. Also, it allows me to make some pretty cool jumps. So let's go back into our toolbar menu here. So here we have some small curved tubes, which are only available for some small ships, along with the ejectors and small conveyors. And then, of course, here we have the larger versions. So right now I do have we have one mod by Darth Biomech. That's the mod author. It's a laser turret. We're actually removing it, but we're giving everyone time to convert to a standard turret, which is this one. And that's because the laser turrets don't actually shoot lasers. They're just using regular ammunition. So we're going to go and pull it out because it's just one additional thing that doesn't need to be there. So we're going to pull it out. Once the laser turrets are working and firing energy, then we'll put it back in. With large blocks, we've got things that only go on large ships and stations. If you look here as I scroll down, there's a lot of empty space. So there's room for mods and vanilla blocks. So here we've got power blocks, batteries, small reactors, large reactors, and solar panels, production blocks, a refinery, an arc furnace, and an assembler. So remember I mentioned that the assemblers had been broken for a while. So here we have a refinery. A refinery will basically refine any ore you get. The arc furnace only works with iron, nickel, and cobalt, and then the assembler we use to make the components, which if you look on the right hand side it'll tell you what components are required. Assemblers make all of those components. Then we've got the small blocks and the window blocks. Okay, so from here let's go and do a little bit of exploring. Now you'll see here this says DSI the danger zone right in front of me, and if you look over here we've got DSI Highway 2. Well, my faction is called DSI. If you're interested in factions, you can hit K or I to go into your inventory. K brings up the same thing, or a control panel. So here we've got factions. If you look at this list is quite long, and the reason being is if you die and respawn, you lose ownership of everything that you had. That's why it's so important to have a medical bay, as I call it, medical room. So if we look in here, you'll see this one here is green. This is Deep Space Salvage Incorporated. It used to be DSS, but my base got griefed. I couldn't respawn in a medical room, and so I had to create Deep Space Salvage Incorporated. So right now I've got iMaxors is a leader. The reason why he's a leader is because only leaders and myself as the founder can accept people in. Please don't log in and just swamp me with applications to join. Go ahead and learn the game a little bit. If you come on to Shadecrest, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have, help you out, where you need it. But I'm trying to kind of keep my faction really small. Now maybe once we reset the map, then I'll open it up a little bit more. But right now there are specific reasons for who I'm letting in, and that doesn't mean that if you come on and we have a great time that I won't allow you in. I just don't want to have like 50 applications the next time I log in. So I didn't put any public information or private, just because, well, I mean, here I can go public information, I can edit that, and I can say, I am happy. No, I'm not. Okay, so now this is only visible to members, and this is public information. So if someone were going to click on, one of these, you'd see the Bambi killing bandits we kill. Okay, and you'll see there's a founder and then an applicant with just some random player numbers. So that's kind of how that goes. So let's start looking at the base. Well, also another interface you'll see over here on the left side is, it says I'm standing. Okay, now it says I'm flying, and now it says I'm falling. Now it says I'm crouching. Just to kind of, I don't know, make sure you know what you're doing, I guess. So my health is at 100%, my jetpack is off, now my jetpack is on. You'll see the next thing is dampeners. That's your inertial dampeners. Now a lot of people, when they first join the game, they spawn into a spawn ship, and they start cruising around, and they start getting close to an asteroid, and they try to stop, and they crash and burn. And that's because by default the inertial dampeners on a ship are turned off.